me, art allows me to explore the scientific inquiries that interest me and that are kind of in the news and mainstream media today, in a more vernacular way, in a way that people can kind of understand. Art almost allows it to be translated from this quite blocky scientific text through the artist into an artwork that is accessible to everybody.
I'm not a scientific person, so I can't really work these things out in my head. So my way of sort of exploring the universe, I guess you could say, is through drawing, because it's like space is this kind of place that you can imagine, and obviously you've seen pictures and you know that it exists out there, but a lot of it is just in your imagination. So it's kind of nice to kind of put that onto paper, I think.
Started with a real love of late 20th and early 21st century science fiction film. I became increasingly interested in the objects and certain aspects of those films, and found myself obsessing over wanting them to be real. So I set about making the prelim series to discover why I wanted these to be real. It basically came down to a certain sense of disconnection between myself and society and some of the habitual systems that we follow in a Western world. I wanted to create an object or create some work that opened up a discursive space between the viewer and the work and allowed them to question their position within this society.
That piece of work, fragmented line structure, has been influenced by the dying star and its 5 different phases that it's going through. I got intrigued when I realised that a dying star is actually the foundation of life on this earth, and I liked that fact that something from outer space has such a big influence for us as a being.
I work mainly with sound and vibration and trying to turn sound into a physical form, or like trying to use sound to kind of influence people to do like certain things or react in a certain way. So it's all about really like kind of thinking about different ways I can portray sound other than in like the hearing sense. I've looked a lot into somatics, which is the study of visible sound, so like actually looking at the patterns that sound waves make, because it's mirrored in nature all around us.
My work doesn't really involve computers at all. I really like the traditional methods of producing work, such as drawing, screen printing, obviously. And it often concerns things to do with kind of like the human condition. I've enjoyed projects with things involving like one of my projects was, 2 of my projects actually I carried it on, was to do with the chaos theory. But like I quite like the whole, I wanted to look at how like the mind perceives time in a very different way to actual time. Because people rely a lot on time and you've got to be somewhere at some point and stuff like that. But in your own head it's very different. It's like time's warped quite a lot.
Okay, what I quite like about art and science, and what's interesting about this magazine, is that science is beginning to get very much its own history. And when things get a past, not only do they get a present, but then you can start conjecturing about their future.